Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down to talk about the future of Xbox. So we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago about what 2023 will look like for this brand. I didn't want to go all in that video because I felt like we had to wait until the showcase to get a full feeling of what the rest of 2022 will look like heading into 2023. As we saw during the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase for this year, the focus for that showcase was on the next 12 months. Everything from this June to next June, what we can expect to see on the platform in exclusive capacity, in day one Game Pass capacity, and of course, first party capacity. And as many of you saw, much to many of you out there's dismay, there was a lot I wasn't crazy about. There were some pleasant surprises in there, but there was a lot this year that I was interested in, but all of my excitement lies in 2023. And in this video, what I want to do is go through those 2023 games and just express some excitement, because a lot of people apparently think I hate Xbox now. I don't know. Tensions are high, clearly, so it's okay. With that, if you're new here, you're looking for Xbox news, information, conversations, you're in the right place. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and subscribing. So now, let's talk about 2023. It's always been about punting into the future for Xbox for a lot of us out there. Oh, just you wait. Next year, we're going to get you. Next year. Next year truly looks like the moment. There is some good content in 2022. I think of High on Life. This game is like this odd world, Stranger's Wrath dream that I've had for years that I never thought would occur, and they're doing it. It looks goofy and amazing. There's other games in 2022 that look good. But when I look at 2023, you start off from the top with, of course, your big first-party games. You look at things like Starfield, Redfall, and you think in combination with potentially closing the Activision acquisition that you can maybe put something like Diablo 4 day one in Game Pass, and right away on a first-party capacity, including something like Forza Motorsport, all fans can be happy. You got your open world stuff, you have your co-op open world stuff, you have racing games, which is a big part of the Xbox DNA, and then you have a looter, like a brand new IP, day one in Game Pass, that's a significant game, and it looks amazing. So there's a lot here to, as Xbox fans, be excited about just off the rip for 2023 on a first party level. And then you cut a little bit deeper with things that they're investing in, new projects they're investing in, and of course, as many of you saw, my complete excitement in their focus in Japan. Now, we don't know when we'll see Kojima's game. I imagine it's going to be a long while before we see anything from Kojima-san. But the fact that the partnership exists means I think more Japanese games are inbound to this platform, hopefully day and date. They don't always have to be the extravagant exclusives or day one Game Pass gets, but just keeping that partnership there is important. And Japan is going to be doing some major carrying. One of my most anticipated games already, just because of the pedigree behind it, is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. So for those who have played Nioh 2, you already know where I'm at. You and I are on the same page right now. For those who haven't, Nioh 2 and Nioh 1 as well are literally Samurai Warriors crosses over with like a Souls game. And it makes no sense, but it works so well and they're spectacular. And now what they're doing is taking Dynasty Warriors and kind of giving it that similar treatment. And I grew up on these games, man. Dynasty Warriors is my bread and butter. I started this off on Dynasty Warrior Advance in the early 2000s, and I just ebb and flow through all these Warriors games. Samurai Warriors 2 Empires being one of the very best of all time. But going to Dynasty Warriors with this style of game, man, I cannot wait. This is the type of stuff we've been waiting for with Xbox. So to paint the picture a little clearer on why I'm so excited for their future, I mentioned the first party stuff. You're addressing a lot of needs here. You're checking a lot of boxes, right? One thing you can't fault Xbox for, whether it's now in 2022 or next year, is the diversity of offerings is incredible, right? Again, looters, first person open world, racing. Now we're looking at a Japanese game, day one Game Pass, early 2023. And it's just going to be so exciting to be an Xbox fan. And I think finally some Xbox fans won't have to kind of go like, I play on this platform. And really you shouldn't in the first place, because who cares if you're enjoying games? That's what matters, right? And plus Game Pass rocks. You got a ton of stuff to play. We're going to be eating good all year. So fret not. and don't let people slander you based on your console choice. Just enjoy video games. But to me, that just lines out the top. And what I noticed with Xbox's roadmap that they laid out for 2022 and 2023 is there are some like, oh, you might have forgot this one exists. That's coming this year, day one in the Game Pass. So things in 2022 that looked kind of interesting, like Slime Rancher 2 or Somerville, games that we saw last year, are still slated to come out this year, day one on Game Pass or exclusive to the console. And that's awesome, because then you look at 2023 and I look at Maddie's game taste. Y'all know I love Square Enix's 2D HD games where they do things like Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, Live Alive. And next year, a Kickstarter game called Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes is coming out. That's another day one Game Pass game. So yes, when you combine that with Persona, Xbox is answering a lot of things for me. Day one Game Pass games that are single player. That's the thing. We always had those co-op games. Single player, that's huge. Japanese games, big first party exclusives. This is what we've been waiting for. And eventually, there's only going to be so much buildup where they have to start releasing stuff, right? And I know that may sound like a little foolish here in this moment in time when we're not getting any first party things. Like, certainly they have to release something. Come on, I'm dying out here. But hopefully you all understand what I'm trying to say, which is just that eventually as a company, they need to let these games go. It just makes sense. They can't hold on to them forever. And then digging a bit deeper into the year, there are things that are timed exclusives that are understandably delayed, like Stalker 2. This is a game that, let's not forget, Stalker 2 was supposed to decorate the first half of 2022 for us and give us a good console exclusive experience. It still looks legit. It's still coming out. Of course, we have to give the developers from Ukraine their time because of everything that's happening in the world right now. They need to focus on other things, but that's still a banger on the way. That's in a timed exclusive capacity. And what's funny is, to kind of top this off before we go into more games, is that Xbox will have a new type of problem, going from the narrative of no games to it looks like they could do monthly games, 2 games a month at this rate, where some people might be saying too many games, because it's not like just because you have all of these big heavy hitters coming out finally, that Game Pass, this self-operated system that's very lucrative, is just going to stop its rotation. They're going to continue to, on top of the games you're seeing here, pile on ones that were missing, maybe recent releases that happened in fall 2022, and get them in the service in early 2023, just like we've seen since the beginning of last year with this service as it's really caught fire and got rolling. So that's the other thing. Y'all are gonna, just like me, have to make some business decisions. What games am I gonna play? Which games am I gonna have to neglect? And what's tantalizing is a lot of what Xbox is offering exclusively and in Game Pass day one, at least for me, all look really appealing, because you continue down the list at surprise ones like Flintlock. Flintlock looks awesome. This was one of my favorite parts of the showcase. It was the wake-up moment where I felt like there was a little bit of a slog in the middle part, and when this was shown, I was like, oh, I'm here for this. The backflips because you're shooting your guns in midair, like that's how you do the in-air dodge. The combat looked visceral. It looked like a good flow, good traversal, and it's an open world single player game. Again, something I've been really asking for a while. Invest in not co-op games. I say this as a co-op addict. I love co-op games. Me and my friends are always looking for the next co-op games, but it felt like Game Pass was so focused on growing the service that they weren't providing other types of single player experiences that were available that weren't indie, by the way. And let us, of course, not forget, one thing that's great about Game Pass is the flexibility of the service itself, where what can actually happen is you can make a deal weeks from launch. We saw what happened with Outriders and how close to launch that was. We've seen other day one Game Pass deals. They're not always months and months and months out like we're seeing here. Oftentimes they're like weeks, maybe a couple of months out, and they're like, yep, we're doing it. In the case of something like Flintlock, a game we were just talking about, that was announced months ago that'll be day one on Game Pass, and we saw it for the first time here. So that type of stuff does occur, but there are also games that as we get maybe towards the Game Awards, maybe we get into 2023, that we don't think will be day one on Game Pass will end up being that. And there's plenty of indie games yet to release, and they're going to want all the exposure they can get, because think about it this way, when you have an onslaught of games coming, and a lot of them AAA, a lot of them big heavy hitters, you're going to want people just to be exposed to your product, just to stand a chance. So I just feel like Game Pass is about to hit their subscribers with a tidal wave. And then you synchronize that with the Samsung TV, the accessibility of that, the multiple devices that you can play on. It's going to be an exciting time. And it feels like it's been a long time coming. And honestly, if things continue to go as nicely as they can, then maybe you could expect a fall decorated with things like Hellblade and Avowed. One thing that I loved about this showcase, and I do regret not expressing, is that Xbox managed to put on a good show without revealing all of the aces up their sleeves. They had a good enough show, as I said in my showcase reactions, they had a good enough show, and maybe in some instances, I wouldn't say great, but there were some heavy hitters, and they didn't have to show Avowed, Hellblade again, Fable, Perfect Dark, Contraband, other projects that are in development, In Exile, and there's room for the rest of the year for them to reveal these types of things. But to me, that's what's also really exciting, is Xbox has so much up their sleeves still, and we're just looking at a slate of things that were announced in June for next year. And there's things, of course, like the Game Awards. Maybe, I'm not going to hold my breath on this one, maybe something like the Gamescom Fest that Xbox always seems to want to put a showcase on during. Tokyo Game Show. There's a number of places that Xbox can make announcements for. So with what they did, it certainly was good enough. In 2023, especially with the things they announced there, like even things such as Ravenlock, there are so many. Just 2023 is already loaded with amazing stuff. And when you think about the other platforms that are still holding stuff, you wonder about God of War. Hey, let's talk about KOTOR Remake. Hello? That if that comes out in the middle of 2023, oh my God, like, dude, it can be a really busy time, but it could be a glorious time, one that we've been waiting for. And more than anything, I'm just excited that Xbox might be in on the fun. We got a taste of that in the end of 2021, what it was like to have a monthly cadence of games coming out. Game Pass really carrying the weight here. The second half of 2022 looking good enough. There are some real good ones in there that I'm excited for, like Pentiment looks hype. So yeah, there's a lot for me to be excited for, a lot for you to be excited for. But to me, 2023 is like an Anakin Skywalker, this is where the fun begins type of moment.
This is where the fun begins.
I just, there's so much merriment I'm experiencing over thinking about 2023. So we do have to wait, in my eyes, a little bit longer. For some of you, not too long. But with that, I just wanted to share my thoughts on the future of Xbox and how insane it looks. And I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you think it's exciting? Are you not excited? I don't know how you couldn't be, but the internet has surprised me more than once in this last week, so we'll see. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments down below. Do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.